PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome. Tonight on PACTV Community News, we take you to a fashion show in Pembroke, a flagpole dedication at the Pine Hills, and a writing competition kickoff in Kingston.
PCN visits a Duxbury resident who won national awards for a very unique observatory built in southern New Hampshire, and we follow up with Break-a-Leg Theater to get a chance to meet the Broadway singer who performed with a student.
We stop into the Plymouth Plantation's Summer Outdoor Farmers Market to hear about the season opening.
Treasury Notes with Plymouth County Treasurer Tom O'Brien is back for another installment, and we begin at Pine Hills on Memorial Day. The Stonebridge Club in the Pine Hills put a new flagpole up and wanted to dedicate the flagpole to veterans of service in the United States Armed Forces by having a Memorial Day ceremony. PCN stopped by to get this story.
The Memorial Day protocol will lower. We put this new flagpole up at the Stonebridge Club, which is the geographic and social center of the Pine Hills, about, 6 months ago. And we thought it would be appropriate to dedicate the flagpole to veterans of service in the United States Armed Forces. We talked about, as we do every Memorial Day, we talked about how important it is for those of us who enjoy the freedoms that our service members have sacrificed for, to remember those sacrifices all the time, but especially on Memorial Day. And that's sort of the gist of the whole thing. That's the reason for the flagpole. At the end of my remarks, I asked everybody who visits the Stonebridge Club on a regular basis to pause for a minute as they drive down the driveway. You can see the flagpole and the flag flying in the breeze, and to pause for a minute and just think about the men and women who made those sacrifices for our freedom. Our co-flag raiser was Ken Goldner, who was a United States Air Force veteran, and he is president of the veterans group at the Pine Hills. As I mentioned, there are more than 300 veterans living in the Pine Hills from all eras, from World War II to the global war on terrorism. And Ken has brought the Pine Hills Veterans Group from a small, active organization to one that on an annual basis contributes several $1,000s, I think more than $5,000 in money to veterans charities here, not just in Pine Hills, but in the town of Plymouth, benefiting all Plymouth veterans. When I was in the Navy in Vietnam, I had a shipmate who went on to flight school, went on to Top Gun, and he flew the last A6 mission over Hanoi in the 70s. And he was shot down. And they didn't find any evidence of him for 30 years. So it's fairly recent. And so he was brought back to his family and put on the wall, buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Those are the kinds of things that you think of on a day like this. I think the best part of it was to see how many people showed up despite the rain and the cold. I mean, it's not a very nice day, even though they say every day in the Pine Hills is nice. And so many people showed up, and so many people thanked us and appreciated the ceremony. It's something that we plan to continue after this year not as a dedication, of course, but as a commemoration. So that was very gratifying.
The Fashion Focus program based out of Pembroke is a confidence building and empowerment class for girls ages 5 to 18. Every spring, they host their year-end fashion show to raise money for members of the community in need. This year, they helped raise money for local food pantries, and PCN stopped in to catch some of the show.
This is our celebration fashion show. We do it once a year for usually, to celebrate the girls' program. We have a fall and spring program, and we do it one time of year. So it's the fall girls from 2016 and the spring girls from 2017. And it's really just a celebration of who they are, their uniqueness, their individuality, really kind of just helping them be proud and celebrate a semester here with us. And tonight, we usually always do it for a charity. And tonight it's about local food pantries that we're raising money for. And so it's kind of a nice culmination of being here for the girls, but the girls also understanding that they're here for a reason too, and it's not just to look pretty, it's to help give back. For 17 years I've been doing it. We always choose a charity because, again, I think the broader message should be for the girls that, yes, let's celebrate them, but let's give back. I think it's a sort of a building block of foundation that they understand that the world is beyond just their little bubble. This year we chose the food pantries because I felt like in our own backyard there are people who are struggling, and sometimes we're so fixated on the national or the global that we don't realize that the girl sitting next to us on the bus may have a grumbly stomach, and school may be tough to get forward with her because she's hungry and she's distracted. So it hits home, and I wanted to do something right here with my partners in the community. I've been here 17 years. I have some of the nicest community-based relationships, and they have provided donations. The modeling part of what we do here is really a small component of the overall picture, but it happens to be the most powerful. It happens to be when these girls take the stage, take the runway, it transforms them. Beauty is not about outer. It's not that we have to discount it though. Girls want to look nice. We do. It's nice to dress up. It's nice to feel good about yourself that way. But really the more powerful message underneath and what I really build with the girls is that it's who they are, it's their personalities, it's their uniqueness. It's not their height or their weight or the color of their hair, it's the person they are on the inside.
When a local builder from Duxbury was given the opportunity to construct a unique observatory on a mountaintop in New Hampshire, he ventured outside of his normal work comfort zone and gave it a shot. After nearly 3 years of construction, this one-of-a-kind building has earned accolades from industry experts for this functional piece of art. We spoke with the builder who helped make it all possible.
We built a private observatory up in northern New Hampshire. It's called the Gamma Observatory. It was a private client out of Wellesley that we had done a lot of work for in the past. First attempt at an astronomy observatory was in his backyard, and he had a roll-top shed that we designed to take the shed top off so you could go out in the backyard and look up at the sky. We decided he wanted something bigger and better and bought a piece of property up in northern New Hampshire. We put in a road about a half-mile long that went up to the top of the mountain. That was kind of stage one of the project, getting the road in so you could actually access the site. Following year, we went and started doing the site work, excavated, put in a foundation, and started to erect the building. And it's something that's won a couple national design awards for metal architecture, as well as just the overall design. It was something that fell into our laps, as I said, because it was a private client who had some really big ideas and something very specific that he had a vision for. He hired an architect out of Cambridge, and Meyer Winton Architects. They designed the entire project. So we were the builder living in Duxbury and invited to take a look at it and see if it was something that we wanted to do. Logistically, I was a little concerned because of where it was and how to get to the top of a mountain and to run and orchestrate an entire project of this magnitude that was 2.5 hours away. But it was such a great opportunity and such a unique experience, it was impossible to pass up. From start to finish, our project took roughly about 2.5 years, which, it was a bit of time, but there were some reasons for that. Logistically, it was such a unique project and such a one-of-a-kind project that although the architect designed things and put together a full set of plans, things had to be created and things had to be actually taken from a piece of paper and sort of figured out in the field. They were sort of designed and reconstructed as we went. We had a couple issues engineering-wise where the top of the building had to spin for the telescope observatory slot, the viewing slot, to be able to rotate so you could access different points in the sky. It was such a unique and creative and challenging project. It's much different than reworking somebody's bathroom. The vendors, the subcontractors, the contacts, and the people that I got to work with in trying to orchestrate that and bring in all these different specialty people, specialty trades, and just to come up with something that, you know, when all is said and done, is a functional piece of art, that it works as an observatory. It also, it just is a beautiful building. It's you know, fairly awe-inspiring when you see it, to think that was something that, you know, that we created.
Have you ever wanted to write the great American novel? How about a spy thriller or a mystery story? If so, best-selling published author Kevin Simmons may be looking for you. In what's being called the American Idol for writers, aspiring authors were encouraged to submit 2 to 3 page writing samples of their work with the hopes of being selected to win a one-on-one interview and private coaching session from a top editor at Wild Rose Press. Author Kevin Simmons stopped by Kingston Public Library as part of his promotional tour for the contest.
70,000 words. You put it in an envelope.
This is a statewide writing contest that we initiated in order to find some new aspiring authors. We've also done quite a lot of work in trying to get more people to write. The art of writing is seriously, you know, at an all-time low. People forgot how to write. We're looking for any aspiring author from 16 years old and up. Anyone that's written any fiction. We need 1 to 3 pages sample of their writing. Once they submit it, we will choose 5 people. Those 5 people will be submitted to Wild Rose Press, and an award-winning publisher will look it over and then have a private one-on-one meeting with whomever was selected as our winner.
What we're asking for is 2 to 3 page writing samples, submissions. You should probably have either completed or have done some serious work on a novel.
We've been all over throughout New England, visiting several libraries, trying to initiate this contest. It's sort of like the American Idol for writers.
We're looking for some creative, intelligent, well-motivated authors, aspiring authors, who give us a submission and really want to be, let's say, a traditionally published author. Traditionally published means they get paid to do it, and there is a gatekeeper, someone in this contest who is going to make sure that we say, this is good enough.
We have dozens of submissions from people throughout New England. We've been appearing at many libraries trying to get this first year write-off off the ground.
We will judge the initial submissions. We will then pass it along to the Wild Rose Press, and they will have 5 selections to choose from. When they decide who they would like to, what they have decided as the winner, we will have one of their award-winning editors. They will work with the author.
I hope when they're driving home they think that they finally have an in into the publishing world. I think we're allowing them access to world-class publishers that they would otherwise not have access to. 1 second. I'm not going to get your photo.
It's that time of year again. The farmers market has opened for their outdoor season at Plymouth Plantation. The market is open every Thursday from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. We met up with the new director to talk about what's new and unique this year.
For the beginning of the summer season, we have something like 45 vendors signed up for this year, and we will completely fill this field with vendors. We have a great lineup of vendors. We represent everything from, first of all, we're a producer-only market, so people are here only selling what they produce, or what they grow, or what they make in their own kitchen. That's been our philosophy since the beginning. But we have everything from vegetable seedlings and all kinds of vegetables to fruits later in the season. We have baked goods, we have processed goods, we have pickles, we have cheese, we have mushrooms, we have fantastic prepared food vendors that source their ingredients from within the market and then promote the fact, so we have a real good cross-promotional thing going. So I've done other markets, especially in the city, that, you know, that just people from all around the state, and they drive 50 miles and they sit down, they plop plop their stuff down, they set up, and they sell for the afternoon, and then they all go home. Plymouth is much different, partly because I've been here for a long time, but there are core vendors here, Jenny's Bread and Paul Queenbee. There are core vendors that have also been here for years and participate in things like, management decisions, vendor selection, music selection, prepared food demonstrations and stuff like that. So I have a lot of, it's not just me driving the ship, we have a lot of participation from vendors within the market as far as the management and running of the market. So a lot of, we get every year, we have a fine selection of new people, but we always have returning people that have been here for years. And it's a very, and most of the vendors, I would say, are within 15 to 20 miles of Plymouth. So it's a real community feel, I think, not only among the customer base, but among the vendors. Could it be the north wind they've been?
It was back in chilly February when we met Kyle and Healy of Break a Leg Theater Works, two longtime friends who dreamed of running a children's theater together. Well, their dreams came true, and the company has now performed its fourth production called Let's Go to the Movies. PCN stopped in with the company at the Spire to follow up and get a chance to meet the guest Broadway performer that sang with the students.
Well, with my, I think I have about 17 years experience now as a professional actor in New York in the Broadway scene. And so up to this point, I had been calling some of my friends in, and Chelsea Packard, who's just amazing and wonderful, she was recommended, highly recommended to me by two friends whose opinions I really respected. And so I called her. We had never met. We had a warm conversation on the phone, and she immediately said yes.
Totally an open book. I just really connected to Kyle's energy, truly, over the phone. I mean, he's somebody who really cares about these kids and who really is passionate about bringing arts education to this particular area. I've encountered lots of different teachers and lots of different student groups and knowledge bases, and this particular group is like, they're so prepared, they're so excited, they're so passionate, and they're so supportive of one another. It's just been a really special thing.
That if you become a teacher by your pupils, you'll be taught.
I think Healy and I were very ambitious. We have, in this 2.5-hour span, 54 songs. We have 40 kids from 23 schools, all over the South Shore, ages 8 to 18, and it's just been wonderful. Their focus, their commitment, their dedication, and we couldn't be prouder. It actually turned out way even more beautiful than I can imagine.
I just get really excited about the idea of taking people that are based in New York and bringing them out into various regions and kind of trying to infiltrate the various educational systems that are in place. And I think it's so cool what Kyle's doing, to bring artists that have that experience of transplanting themselves and taking that risk and bringing them back to the kids.
Who can say?
It feels very kind of scary, but it feels very fun.
Her poise and her stage presence, she's just great, and she's given me such great advice.
I see the kids kind of have a sort of out-of-body experience for a moment. They're just sort of inspired, and they're just in awe of her. And seeing them just connect with her, and then they just see that she's just a wonderful, talented performer, but she's so generous on stage. She's not concerned about where they've come from or their experiences. She's just so giving. And to see them connect with her, it's just, it warms your heart.
And it's really amazing to meet her and just talk to her, a Broadway performer.
Being lectured and coached by people in the entertainment industry is like a dream come true, and you don't get that very often at your school drama club or anything like that. So it feels like I am on Broadway even though I'm not in New York.
And nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was, is ever gonna bring me down. I hope you're happy.
that is the true purpose here, of just giving them experiences that they may not have and a chance to shine with someone that can inspire them and say that the possibilities are endless for their dreams.
We are pleased to welcome back Tom O'Brien, who is the Plymouth County Treasurer, for his section of the news called Treasury Notes. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you.
I always look forward to my segment.
And you have a very jam-packed segment because we're going to talk about pensions and how all the towns and municipalities are going to do pensions for their health insurance.
Correct,
basically.
correct.
So talk to me about how it's done now and how you're going to be doing it differently.
So folks know in a municipality that they're dealing with funding the pensions for municipal workers, but what's new on the horizon is funding for health insurance, and that's called other post-employment benefits other than pension, which is predominantly health insurance.
And it hasn't been funded before?
So in the late 2000s, the Government Accounting Standards Bureau, GASB, came out with a new rule called GASB 45.
GASB 45.
And GASB 45 said to every municipality across the country, you folks must identify what the liability is to provide the health insurance that you're providing to your employees into their retirement for the rest of their life.
Oh,
You have to quantify that number.
How do you do
And
that?
so all of the town, you hire actuaries.
Yeah.
That's how you do it,
Right.
really. It's the same way you quantify what the pension liability is.
Okay.
So we're all familiar that we have a pension liability, but GASB 45 came out and said you have to quantify what this OPEB liability is for health insurance.
Right.
And so every town did it, and that study's been done, and every municipality, every level of government, from the state all the way down, can identify what that liability is. And that's all GASB 45 required.
But how do you know 10 years, 20 years into the future what even the model of healthcare is going to look like?
So again, actuaries have studies, they have mortality tables, they understand what the insurance is costing today, and they project out how long people are likely to live. The good news for you is you're going to outlive me. Women outlive men. That's just the way it is. And so they take these studies, and it's all presumptions, and they change the assumptions along the way.
Right.
But based on rules and standards adopted by GASB, that's how they calculate what that liability is going to be. So GASB says you have to assume men will live so long, women will live so long.
Right.
You have to assume that the cost of insurance goes up 4% every year. So they have all these assumptions you have to follow.
Okay.
And then you quantify that liability.
So each town now every year has to have a budget to fund this?
So what happened was once they quantified the liability, now every town knows what it is.
Okay.
GASB 45 didn't go beyond that. However, GASB 67 and 68 came down the road.
Oh, good.
Yes, lucky us. And GASB 67 and 68 said, okay, now that you've identified what the problem is, you need to begin to fund that liability.
Right.
You need to begin to put it into a trust, which is designated solely for these other post-employment benefits.
Or health
So it's
insurance,
called an OPEB trust.
Okay.
All right.
But it's really the only thing in that is the health insurance.
The only thing in that is the health insurance.
Okay.
And the only hesitancy is it does include some life insurance. If a town has given its employees life insurance benefits, then that's included in it as well.
Okay.
But it's predominantly health insurance.
Okay.
So now that it's been identified and now that you're required to begin to fund it, towns had two options up until recently. They could do it on their own. They could create an unrevocable OPEB trust on their own, and they have trustees in the town. Or they could join the state fund and invest alongside the state with their OPEB liability.
Which probably makes more sense?
Well,
because it's a bigger pool?
The advantage to the state was that it has a bigger pool, it has a bigger investment team, and the rate of return tended to be better.
Higher, sure.
However, what was interesting about the state option was that you were required to sign a 3-year contract, and you had to put minimally $250,000 each of the 3 years into this OPEB trust.
Just to start it.
Just to begin. And for some small towns, that wasn't really an option. Sure. Very expensive.
Yeah.
So what I got tasked to do as the Plymouth County Treasurer, our advisory board for the county, which consists of one member of each of the boards of selectmen of our 27 towns, said, can you come up with a better option? Can you build a better mousetrap?
Okay.
And so I spent about 7 months doing some research. I went to the private sector to see what they were doing. And what's interesting is the private sector, and on the West Coast, they had created something called a multi-employer trust for public entities.
Okay.
And so I thought to myself, this is a fairly good option. It's created similar to a pool of investments. It's a number of communities joining together, pooling their resources, driving down the fees, and effectuating economies of scale.
Okay.
So I interviewed a number of agencies that administered those trusts. We interviewed and signed up with PARS, Public Agency Retirement Services.
Okay.
And on January 15, 2015, the Plymouth County Commissioners voted to create the Plymouth County OPEB Trust, which is now called PCOT. And it was the first multi-employer trust of public entities on the East Coast.
Okay.
So we are ahead of the curve.
You are?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what this allows is a community to join our trust, which meets all federal and state guidelines, to invest their monies in a pooled resource, driving down fees and getting the same rate of return, actually a little better rate of return than what they could get if they joined the state.
And how many have joined so far?
So it's interesting. Excellent question. What we were hoping is in the first year, we'd have 5 groups and maybe $1 million in assets. By year 2, we were hoping to have 10 groups and maybe $2.5–3 million in assets.
By groups, you're meaning towns?
Municipalities. Governmental entities, because it could be a school district.
Okay.
So any governmental entity. However, we just finished our second year. We have 25 members.
Wow.
And we have $5.9 million in assets under management.
Fantastic.
What's really exciting is the town of Weymouth just joined 2 weeks ago the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. So they're our 25th member, and they're bringing in another $3.2 million.
Huge.
They're big.
Yeah,
they're
they're
big.
huge.
So it's not just for small governmental entities, it's for big governmental entities as well. In our first year, our rates of return have exceeded that at the state level. And in fact, over the last year, from March 1st to March 31st, over that year period of time, we returned 11.5%. Wow. So it has been a good investment. These communities and municipalities that have joined are thrilled.
Of course they are.
We go out and we're interviewing with 2 or 3 every week to see if they're interested in joining. What happened when we created it for Plymouth County, the other treasurers in Barnstable County, Bristol County, and Norfolk County asked if we would open it up to any governmental entities in those 3 counties. And so when the commissioners voted to create it, we made sure that it included Barnstable, Norfolk, Bristol County as well.
I mean, it's a hybrid that's really working, right?
We didn't want to go beyond that geographic area
yet,
because then it creates a lot of travel time for the Plymouth County Treasurer.
Right. And we don't want that.
And we wanted to make sure it was geographic centric. We were excited, however, at some of the first folks that joined. The town of Plainville was one of the early adopters of PCOT, and that was exciting to us because Plainville is getting what source of revenue that they're now dedicating to their OPEB liability? They're getting the casino revenue.
Oh, right.
So that is now, all that revenue is being dedicated to their OPEB liability and is coming into this. So it's really creative, it's exciting. Communities are learning about it. They're thinking, it doesn't really make sense for us to do it on our own because you have to hire a legal team, you have to have financial advisors.
You're doing the one-stop shopping for them.
It's a turnkey operation.
You've done everything.
It really is.
So just in our last 30 seconds, the difference between this, which is for municipalities and people who work for municipalities, and the private sector, we can look forward to going Medicaid, Medicare for our health insurance when we retire. Whereas the people that work for municipalities do not, is that correct?
Not entirely. People that work for municipalities also have to go on Medicare when they hit 65.
Okay.
But then they get supplemental plans.
Sure.
And those supplemental plans are covered under this OPEB trust.
Okay.
So it's
that's
a
what you're
supplemental
covering.
plans that we're covering for those that retire. However, we do have employees that retire that are under 65. Their health insurance is also covered under these trusts.
Oh, interesting.
It's fascinating. It's exciting. We're on the cutting edge.
Good for you.
And really, other people are starting to mirror what we're doing
Very
in
good.
other states. Rhode Island just adopted one as well. So
good for you. You must be very proud.
Well, it's an exciting opportunity. It's a really clever creation, and all we did was look at what was working best in the industry and adopt it here.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We'll have you back again for another interesting episode very soon.
There are exciting things to talk about in the world of finance.
And thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something as well. If you'd like to see the show again, please check us out on PACTV's website or sign up to the PCN YouTube channel where we post the show each week. Please sure to follow us on social media. We'll see you next week for more local stories.